Welcome to The Grand Balance, a bi-weekly podcast hosted by two working grandmas navigating the beautiful chaos of work and family. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Angela. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's a Sunday that we're recording, and I'm heading off to the airport for work.
I've been back and forth to the airport several times this week, and I can definitely relate, but all good. Beautiful part of summer right now.
It is. So I'm off to Madison, Wisconsin. So I'm hoping that the weather will be lovely, different than California for sure. I'm hearing all about the different weather patterns out there.
I know, but my son spent 2 summers in Minnesota, and we loved the summers up there.
Oh, really? So I'm looking forward to it. Maybe I'll get a little different type of sunshine out there.
Beautiful. Lots of lakes, lots of outdoor stuff.
Great.
Really nice.
So I have a story that I want to start off with because I need to know if you've heard this.
Okay.
So I'm with a client the other day at lunch, getting to know her, and we're talking about how expensive it's going to be for our kids to buy a house and, just stuff like that. And somehow we got on this topic. Have you heard that kids during lunchtime can order Uber Eats to be delivered to the school?
No, my
Okay.
mind is blown right now.
So,
First
this
thing
is
I'm thinking of is the poor school secretary.
okay. This is the issue. So, I guess what happened was this is in California at least. California mandated that they had to offer free lunches, right? Instead of it's like you got to qualify and all of that, they just said free lunches for everyone because I know it was socially hard for kids to like go through the process and say they couldn't afford meals or whatever. I don't know what the background of it was, but
Oh, and on one side, they may have found it was less expensive just to do it blanket policy. You know how much to plan for, and you don't have to go through all the paperwork side of it.
yeah, and worry about kids that don't want to apply or whatever.
Right. I get that.
Regardless, free meals in schools. Well, apparently the word is that now the food isn't very good, like worse than it was before. So kids started because they have their phones, right? Or their parents do it. I'm not sure which one. They would order Uber Eats. And so what was happening was it used to be where it would be out at the front. They created like a little delivery stand out at the front of the school so kids could go get their Uber Eats. Well, then the kids started stealing other people's Uber Eats. So they ended up having to hire full-time staff to manage and secure the Uber Eats deliveries because it got so out of control.
Oh, I have so many questions. Are we talking elementary or middle school
No,
or high school?
high school. Well, she's telling me this story at her child's high school.
Okay,
But
I'm so
in my
unclear
mind,
why.
I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh." And then we worry about how these kids are spending money. Like, I look forward to my bean burrito at lunchtime.
Well, I'm just so curious. Why can't the schools just say no lunch deliveries? Why in the world would you spend more money out of your budget to manage these deliveries?
And the fact that the schools now have to do that because so many I guess the parents complained that their children weren't getting their Uber Eats. But I
Okay,
was
my
thinking,
mind is
gosh,
blown. I think that's such a simple solution. No deliveries.
well, can you believe it? So this is what they're dealing with at the schools, that now kids are getting their food delivered. They can't suck it up for the day. And I'm sure they have healthy options. It's just probably not Chipotle or, whatever the kids want to eat. Because
Okay,
I
but this
know,
is
like,
ridiculous on so many levels. If you don't like what's being served, bring your own lunch like the
bring your own
old-fashioned
lunch.
way, like all of us did.
Yes. Yes. So that was in my mind, I thought, what is happening in society right now?
Yeah, I had no idea. Obviously, I don't have a lot of experience with high schoolers at the moment, but this is pure crazy, and it seems like the solution is so simple.
You would think, but but when you're fighting parents and stuff and they're up in arms about the health of the food, and I get it. But
So
boy,
aren't they not supposed to be using their phone throughout the school day?
well, that's the other thing. So maybe this school didn't do that, or maybe they just get their Uber Eats delivered every day. I
Or
don't know.
maybe they schedule it. I don't
Maybe
use
they
it.
schedule it or their parents do it.
Yeah, that's okay, well, my mind is blown on that, so
I mean, because 'cause we've talked about on other episodes, budgeting and, we're all how to raise a family on a budget and how not to overindulge and all this, and
well,
when I heard
exactly
that
why I don't
story, I
use
thought,
Uber
"Oh my
Eats or
goodness.
DoorDash very often, it's so expensive.
Oh my gosh, so expensive." Anyway, I just thought that was funny in a way and absurd in a way
Uh,
as well.
more absurd than funny, I guess.
I know. All right. So what are we gonna talk about today? What's on the agenda?
Well, we had talked about ways to help our kids without completely taking over. And we have done different episodes about how to step in. But this particular one we thought was interesting because a lot of times as parents, we want to rescue or take over. And we need to remind ourselves we have adult children that have children. So I think we could talk about some different ideas of how we can help that is actually help for our kids than just completely doing what we think is help, which is obviously 2 different things.
So, beyond babysitting, like, what can you be doing beyond just being there for babysitting duties?
Right, and as we've talked about so much, I think so much of it does come down to communication because every situation is so different. I know in my daughter's case, I could go and reorganize and clean anything in her house, and she'd be thrilled, but I don't think that's the case for everyone, and I know it must be different when you have a son with a child, and maybe your daughter-in-law wouldn't be thrilled with that. In fact, I have a friend whose daughter purchased a home. They have 3 children. Her mother-in-law was babysitting. She came home, and her entire kitchen had been cleaned out. The mother-in-law got rid of any food that she thought was expired or no longer needed, got rid of all of her kitchen towels and replaced them with what she thought my mind was also blown over this. I obviously would never do this, but crazy, right?
Yeah, because the way they wanna live and organize and stuff like that might be different. It's
Right, and I'm
hard.
sure this mother-in-law thought she was being very helpful, but
Although I think I told you, like, when my daughter now she gave me her permission, but when my daughter was about to give birth, I had the grandson for a couple days while she was in the hospital, and they asked and I said, "Can I clean out your pantry and get rid of all the old medicines and stuff?" And that was I found a lot of, like, expired stuff because we just run out of time to, like, go through all our cupboards and
I
stuff.
think that's a different though, you asked because every
I
time I'm
did.
at my daughter's house now, I'm reminded of when they moved in, and one night after everyone went to bed and I couldn't fall asleep because of course, I was on Pacific time. I did their entire pantry. They had moved all kinds of stuff from San Diego, so I went through all their food, expired and she knew this ahead of time, we'd already discussed it, so it was not something they didn't know, but now every time I'm in that pantry and it's so neatly organized, I remind myself of the night sitting there, like, at 1 a.m. just going through, like you said, piles of things that are expired that you just don't have time to deal with.
Yeah, but it's getting the permission. I remember my
Absolutely.
husband so my dad would come and watch the kids, or he'd come over sometimes, and my dad's a tinker, and he loves to repair things, so he would come and find something, like, to that maybe was a crack in something or, whatever,
My
and
favorite kind of person.
he would always fix it, and one time, I don't know what it was, but one time my husband says, "I feel, like, stressed because your dad always finds stuff to fix." And it makes him feel, like, stressed out that the father-in-law is, like, judging or gonna find something that he didn't take care of. So, I
Which
think it
obviously wasn't your
goes
dad's
both ways.
intent at all.
It's
Agreed,
not
and
the
I
intent
think
at all.
yeah, but I think too, like, think about it, when our boys settle down and get married and have kids, if we were just to go into their homes and clean without the proper communication, I feel like the daughter-in-laws might think like, "Oh, my mother-in-law doesn't think I'm clean enough," or I think you kinda have to be careful in those situations when it's not your own child or depending on the relationship you have with your child. It comes down to making it clear your intent and whether they want it done.
Yeah. So us grandmas can control the grandfathers too by saying, "Hey, before you start tinkering or thinking you're helping, you got to make sure that they're cool with it, you know?" So
Yeah,
it's a
no,
big,
it definitely goes both ways, but
yeah,
I was thinking about this too because so often we've talked a lot about babies coming home and asking, "What can I do to help you?" Some moms might have you hold the baby for a couple hours while they get things done, and vice versa. They might want you to get the things done while they're holding the baby. So that, again, they can talk about. But as kids get older, I think the same thing applies. Like we can go and say, "What can I do to take something off your plate? What can I do to assist that's most helpful to you?" And open up that conversation.
yeah. And I think too, like when we talk about beyond babysitting, because, that's an easy one, although not everybody can even babysit. So are there other things that they could do to help? So whether it's a schedule they can't babysit, or like in my husband's case, he's got limited mobility. So he can't be responsible for watching toddlers because he just can't move faster than a toddler.
Right, and when I can totally relate to that, when I went to Denver for my niece's law school graduation, I was in a brace and a cane and could not move well, and I actually felt so helpless not being able to help a lot with the girls, but I did find, like, there are things you can do. I ordered groceries, I planned the meals, I kind of helped out in that regard. You can sit and fold laundry. So I
Yeah.
I I think it's just finding what works.
Or you could say, "Hey, is there anything in the house that needs repair? Because I can sit and do this, but I can't, run after kids."
Right,
Kind
be
of.
responsible 100% for
Oh
crazy
my gosh.
toddlers.
Speaking of running after kids. So, I'm gonna digress for just a moment. I took the 2 kids to a museum. Again, one of those free museum days, and way too many people there. And as we're checking in, because there's so many people, because it's the free day, they're making everybody check their strollers.
Well,
So
I also might add, we're in a tourist city in the middle of summer.
I know, and so way too busy, but I did it anyway. But that was just my fault. I wasn't thinking. But I go with the stroller. It's the two-seater stroller. They make me check it. So I've got my my granddaughter who weighs a lot right now. Like she's still like a little chunky and she's not walking. And then I've got my and she doesn't know how to hold on still yet. So she's like dead weight on me. And then I've got the 2.5-year-old toddler. And so I'm trying to hold his hand, hold the baby, and I have the backpack, which is the heavy backpack on my back. So we're going through, the toddler takes off. So I'm running with him with the toddler in the backpack,
Oh, no.
and he's just going everywhere. And so I'm literally, Sharon, bumping into people like, to get through the crowd, so I keep my eye on the toddler, and I'm like and they're looking at me like I'm so rude. I was like, "Toddler on the loose, toddler on the loose."
Grandma
So
out of
I was
control.
running after him, and it was the hardest thing ever. So if you're not in tip-top shape, I don't know how you could do it. It would have been impossible, and even during that time, we were walking down the stairs, and the toddler's on one side, like, blocking my vision. But I thought my grandson was right next to me because 'cause we're walking down the stairs together. We get to the bottom of the stairs, he's completely gone.
Oh, I bet.
I freak out because I can't find him, and I just scream his name, and there he comes from around the corner looking at me like, "Oh my gosh, what did I do?" And at
Oh.
that point, I was like, "I'm done." I was in a panic. I said, "I'm done. We're outta here." And then I go and I run into a woman with the stroller, and I said, "How did you get the stroller in here?" And she said, "I just told him. It's impossible to be for me to manage multiple kids, and they let me go in. So I didn't realize I could have asked for an exception.
The squeaky wheel.
Yes. Although, to be honest, how busy it would have probably been harder for me to maneuver a big old stroller when he
Right,
did take off than me literally running after him.
right.
So
I guess in
I
that situation, you almost have to wear her.
yeah, and I wasn't prepared. I
Well,
was
no,
not
because you thought
prepared.
you
So
were gonna have
anybody
the
that's got 2
stroller.
kids on a busy day in a museum, you will have to check your stroller, so prepare an alternative plan.
Yeah. Well, that's a good tip because I know my daughter has all the options in the trunk at all times. She's very well organized and prepared, but as a grandparent, I don't know that you would think that you couldn't take the stroller.
That's right. Yeah. Or to be brave enough to argue and ask for the exception.
Yeah. We went not on a free museum day, but we went to the Children's Museum of Houston on a Friday morning right when it opened. And this children's museum was amazing. It was 3 levels and it had just infinite amount of things you could do for all ages. I was really, really impressed with it.
I saw the pictures, and I've been to the children's museum here with my grandson, but only him. So,
Right. And this one, 'cause we've been to the one in Denver and the one here. This one in Houston's a whole nother level.
yeah, it looked like it from the pictures.
Really, really cool. The 2-year-old granddaughter still takes a little time to warm up to some things, and so some things she really liked and some things she was a little bit wary of, but then we found the toddler area, and she immediately warmed up and ran and did all the activities, so really fun. Of course, the baby is just in the stroller kinda watching and taking it all in, but
Yeah.
we did not have a stroller problem. We definitely used the stroller.
See? And it wasn't even a busy day. So, yeah. So that's one tip. So back to that. So my point was you have to be so mobile to be able to do this. So what if you're a grandparent that isn't so mobile? You know, like my husband. One thing he does, and I think I've mentioned it a few times, is that when they're over here, he'll cook. He cooks the meals. So they don't have to, worry about that. But I think there's other things that we probably don't think of that and the kids might not think of either that we could offer to do. Like, "Hey, do you want me to go take your car to get the oil changed?" Because they have to
Yeah,
take
that's
time
so
out.
true. The
Like
other thing too, I think is such a like, we talked a little bit about groceries, but even, like, helping them meal plan if they're both working or it's just things that take a lot of time, and I there's so many things we can do that maybe we aren't thinking of that will help free up some time or brain activity for them or something.
yeah, or, you know, how often are you on hold forever to make appointments?
I was just thinking the same thing.
And we're dealing with now this is if you have time, because if you're working, you'd have to figure that out too, obviously, if we're both working. But if you have a little more capacity than your kids, because like my daughter, for example, works for the government and she can't have a phone because of the secret clearance and all that. So she can't take her phone in. So for her, even on her break, it's difficult to even make calls. So that might be something you can offer. Hey, if you need to make appointments for your kids and you're not finding appointments online or whatever, can I help? Or if you need to get new insurance or whatever it is you're having to make phone calls on, we could probably help with stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. The other thing I was just thinking of is when you're researching things, it takes so much time. Like, for instance, you're looking for swim lessons. If you're familiar with the area and what they want, that's something else I feel like we could do behind a screen or make phone calls, get information, and do some of the research ahead of time to help them figure out a solution on some of the things they want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like your meal prep idea because it is interesting because I see my husband doing this a lot. If he'll sit in front of the TV and he'll shred chicken. Like he'll get the 2 big chickens at Costco and he'll just sit there and shred them all to make chicken enchiladas, tortellini pasta, whatever he's
Right.
gonna make, but he can just do that and it's way, way, way cheaper than buying like prepackaged chicken,
Oh, and it goes
like,
such a long
significant.
ways, and you can use it in so many different things, even like a salad, you can throw that chicken in.
That's right. So, I mean, it's a little thing, but it saves probably 50 bucks just doing it that way.
Well, and a lot of time when you do it ahead of time like that.
Right, and he can just sit there and, not have to worry about it, but it helps out. Yeah, I just think there's so many different things that you just have to be creative. But then I wonder, so I'm gonna add a little controversy to this. Do you think there's a difference between helping and rescuing and enabling?
Definitely think there's a big difference, and I do think that does vary from family dynamic to family dynamic, but I definitely think the rescuing and enabling is a thing, and I think it's an important distinction to be made.
Yeah. Like, are we making we're thinking, oh, we're going to make our adult children's lives so much easier. But then does that mean that we're like solving all their problems for them and they're not having to deal with anything?
Well, I think both of our kids are strong enough that they wouldn't allow that, and they're capable and they wanna do it, but I do think that's something to be aware of. First of all, that grandparents aren't overstepping the boundaries, and secondly, you don't want your adult children to become dependent on you.
Yeah. So, you can do little things like that. But I think also the emotional support, just saying, you know what, you're doing a great job. I don't, I know I wish I heard that more often when I was struggling balancing it all.
Oh, I agree, and I think my daughter is doing such an amazing job with her girls, and I'm constantly in awe of both her and my son-in-law, but I try to remind myself, let her know, because just because it's in my head that I think they're amazing, they may not know that. So I have been trying to actually verbalize it more because, like you said, it's such a nice thing to hear when you're in the thick of it and you just don't know which end is up.
Right. Yeah. Everybody needs that little pat on the back once in a while. And then the other thing is sometimes, and I don't know if you experience this with your daughter, but they'll call or any of my kids, actually, either of my kids. And the first question I should be asking is, do you want advice or do you just need to vent? Because I think we naturally want to give advice when, to your point, we should just be zipping it and waiting to find out what they really want.
Yeah, that's such a good tip because I think most parents are natural problem solvers, especially in relationship to their kids. And a lot of times maybe they are just trying to vent to a someone they're comfortable with and they know that loves them.
That's right. Yeah.
Speaking of phone calls, and I know a lot of grandparents are in the same situation as I am with long distance grandparenting, this might be something that people don't know. FaceTime has been a lifesaver for us. And I think that whole generation uses it much more like I know I see my son calling his friends on FaceTime a lot. So it's more of a natural thing that they do on the regular compared to us. But FaceTiming my granddaughters has definitely helped keep that communication. They recognize my face. But, FaceTiming with a toddler running around with them pushing buttons can be a nightmare, hanging up. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but on an iPhone, and I'm not familiar with non-iPhones, so, there might be a way, but I'm just not familiar with it. You can lock out the screen so the kid can't hang up.
What?
Yes. So my
That's
daughter does this
interesting.
regularly. I had Googled it because I thought there has to be a solution, and sure enough, there was. So now she does it. And you go into settings, and then you go into accessibility, and you set the guided access. This is something obviously you can Google to help, but it's just a matter of going into guided access, setting it up, starting the call, and then you triple click the side button and click start, and now the whole screen is locked out.
Yes, I'm just following your instructions right now, and I see exactly what you're saying.
And then to exit, you just triple click that side home button again and enter your passcode, and your phone reverts back to normal.
I love that tip. Yeah,
So that's a tip for all of you that FaceTime with little running around toddlers that love to push the screen.
that's so funny. Yeah, my grandson just wants to push that red button. So we're trying to talk and he's like, "There's the red button. I'm going to push it."
Yeah, that's exactly what we were facing, and so it was a matter of then she would get upset that grandma wasn't on the screen anymore and start screaming to her mom, so it was like a vicious cycle.
Yeah, that is so funny.
So
Well,
there is a solution to a problem, and I do have a fabulous find as well.
all right, let's hear it.
So, we've talked a lot about helping out in energy levels and on the go with kids. So, coffee is a solution to a lot of this. I've noticed some people don't drink it like you, I know, but there is in the summer, a lot of times people don't want to drink hot coffee. And there is this cup that my children gave me for Christmas several years ago that I use almost daily to make cold coffee. So you make your coffee however you do in the machine or whatever, and then you pour it into this cup called a hyper chiller. And within 1 minute, your coffee's cold and you can pour it over ice and enjoy your whatever kind of iced latte or drink that you want.
Wow, in a minute?
Yes, it's
That's
quite
pretty
amazing. It's
cool.
something that you just keep frozen in your freezer, so it's ready all the time, but it's crazy how fast it works. It reminded me this morning because I was in a big rush to get coffee and I didn't want hot coffee that I had never talked about this amazing invention.
That's pretty cool.
So,
So, you say I don't like coffee. So,
oh, there's been a change?
there's been a little change, kind of. I still don't really like the taste of coffee, but my son has been on my case so much about getting the proper amount of protein. You're supposed to get, like, as much
100 grams.
protein. What did you say?
100 grams.
100 grams? Yeah, they say that, like, 75 to 100% of your weight is what you're supposed to get. So I have had a hard time, I just don't eat that much to get in that much protein. So
No,
I've
it's hard
been doing.
even it's hard to get in that much protein.
Yeah, so it's like, so I'm supplementing with, you can do a shake or a protein bar or whatever. So my son had bought these iced coffee drinks, but they're, well, the one that I tried, 'cause I was like, "Oh, I don't like coffee." Sweet cream latte from this company called Slate, and it has 20 grams of protein, and it's only 100 calories. 1 gram of sugar, and 1
Yeah,
net
that's
carb.
great because that's one thing you have to do doubt check is the sugar.
Yes, so 1 gram of sugar, 1 gram of net carbs, only 100 calories, 20 grams of protein, and it has caffeine, like the equivalent of 1 to 2 cups of coffee, I think. So, while I don't traditionally drink coffee, I'm drinking this very sweetened, flavored thing that has a lot of protein, and so now I'm like, "That's perfect." So I can drink that, and that supplements, like, a breakfast, so I get a decent amount of protein for breakfast.
Yes, that's see, I also don't really care for the taste of coffee. I was never a coffee drinker, and then my ortho doctor had said that caffeine small amounts of caffeine can help reduce inflammation, so I thought, "Okay, I'm gonna go back to coffee even though I don't really care for the taste." So I take a small, like, probably 4 ounces of coffee and mix it with a chocolate protein shake. Same thing, I've checked on a lot of the protein shakes because a lot of them have ingredients that aren't so good, so I found one that was Bobby approved from my app that we've talked about, and it's a Pioneer Pastures from Target. Same thing, low sugar, no emulsifiers, high I think it's 20, 25 grams of protein, and I mix that with the coffee, so you kinda get the benefits of the caffeine, you get the protein. I mix in a scoop of creatine because we can all use creatine at this age, and that's how I get around the not liking coffee, and I know there's I think we're in the minority. I think most people love the taste of coffee, but this is a way to get around it if you don't like the taste.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities to get, well, to your point, the needed caffeine to sustain our energy, but then also protein. I think things are just getting better in that regard.
I agree, and there's just so many more ways to check now to make sure that the food is made of good quality ingredients.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. So anyway, I'm kinda getting into coffee, but not really.
Well, I was very shocked to hear that because
Yeah.
I was also a very reluctant coffee person, but have been changed over for quite a while now, and I didn't know this about you.
we're doing our best. We're doing
Yes.
our best,
I think that's
maintaining our work-life balance, health, all of that. We can't be perfect, but as long as we keep trying, right?
everything in moderation, right?
That's right.
I agree.
Alright.
Well, with that, I think we are off.
Yeah, so I gotta run to the airport, and you gotta get ready for your week, and we'll see everybody in a couple weeks.
All right. Have a good trip.
Thank you. Take
All
care,
right.
everyone.
Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe to the podcast so we can continue to grow our community. Also follow us on Instagram at Working Grandmas Podcast, on Facebook at The Grand Balance, a Working Grandmas Podcast, and join our LinkedIn group, Working Grandmas. You can also email us at info@workinggrandmas.com or message us through any of our social media platforms.